Well, we have a special treat for you today. We have Dylan here, who has been an incredible part of our team. He pretty much helps us every week doing our tech, and he has an incredible heart, but he also has an incredible story about how God has changed his life. And so I want to open it up to him. He's going to share maybe a little bit, start with your background, start with your childhood.
Right, okay. Yeah, so I was born in Colorado, raised in Parker. I lived a pretty normal childhood, played sports, didn't really have any heartaches, anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So what really was, what happened? You know, you had a lot of tragedy happening in your life, and today we're talking a little bit about, tragedy. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so my childhood up into my adulthood was relatively normal. I didn't have any tragedy really until a few years ago when my father passed, and then
And that was
year,
suddenly, right?
Yeah, so he actually passed away. He had a heart attack in his sleep, and then ever since then, my mother, she had a difficult time coping with it. She would get better and then not. She would kind of go towards alcohol and then not, and that sort of thing. And just depression overall.
Mm-hmm. So what happened after that?
Yeah, so then last June, she lost her battle to addiction from drinking. She passed away. And so after that point, I took a guardianship of my brother, taking care of him. And I really did hit rock bottom there. After losing parents, and yeah.
You must have felt alone. You must have felt, how did you respond to that?
Yeah, I felt alone. I also kind of isolated myself a little bit, and I just started running. I felt like it was the only thing to do, like run, just keep running. And then something happened. I noticed that I was living the same life that my mother was living, like right before she passed, where like she was running from the situation. I started running from the situation. I even found myself drinking and things like that I could tell, like, hey, something needs to change here. Otherwise, I'm going to end up in a similar situation.
Yeah. So what was it that turned you to the church, but what is it that made you realize and find Jesus?
Right. So it all started the day before she passed. I met John. John came in and prayed for her in the hospice, and ever since then, it was always kind of in the back of my mind, all right, here's a way out. Here's something that I haven't tried before. It's always been there, but I never really pursued. And so then a few months later, I think it was November, I ended up running into Maddie, which was a high school friend of mine.
And Maddie goes to our church.
Yes, Maddie goes to the church. And she was like, hey, let's grab coffee. So then I was like, all right, I'm going to try something new. I'm not going to isolate myself here. And there was just a voice in my head that was like, hey, just go for it. I was like, okay, fine. So then I go and have coffee with her, and then all of a sudden I end up at the Brandberg's house that night. And so it was just a really crazy circle that I made there, from meeting John in rock bottom to now at his house, not even knowing that I was going to your house. And so I think it was just those choices to kind of stop trying to create my own path and my own way, and to go after something that I hadn't before. And so then like I started serving at the church, attending life groups, things like that to really help. And that's how I got into the church. And
Yeah. So tell me kind of like, you had an incredible defining moment. You know, we talk about that. Sometimes God has this moment with Jesus, and that's kind of our tagline, one moment with Jesus. Tell us about that one moment you experienced, you know, right before we opened the church.
Right. So the one moment for me, I'll always remember it. We're setting up, and we're kind of doing like a practice service where it's just the church, and John's like, "Hey, is there anyone out there that wants to pray with me and give their life to Jesus?" And I felt like, hey, this is the right time. Like, I'm ready. I know what this means. I know what it means for me. Like, this is what I want. So I raised my hand and I was like, pray for me. Like, help me. Like, I want to follow you, Jesus. And then so like we prayed, and then he asked me to come up on the stage, and I was super nervous because I'm very like shy. And
Yeah, normally I wouldn't do that, but I felt like, man, like this is a defining moment for you, and I knew your story up to that point, and I knew if you got up there and said, man, this was my moment, that it would like permanently change the course of your life. So that's kind of what happened, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I felt like it was good for me too, because then I had that moment that I'll always remember, and also too, like I was happy to share the moment with like everyone in the church too, to kind of kick the church off, because then it like allowed me to really grow and build from there.
Yeah, so from that moment, man, you've been like a sponge, like just like getting into your Bible and serving. Like we've been in operation for what, like almost 15 weeks, and you've been there like literally every week without fail, helping us behind the scenes, behind the camera. Tell us what God has done since then.
Yeah, so God has turned my life around completely. I used to wake up every morning like depressed, thinking negative thoughts all day, to now I wake up every morning like happy and and ready to do life. I'm excited to serve with the church. I'm excited to live again. Like, God, One Life, like they gave me my life back. Like, created a path, and it's like what people say, like there was a bunch of doors, and I asked God, I was like, God, close all the doors that aren't for me and open the door that is for me. And I've just been following him, and reading the Bible every day, joining the life groups. The life groups are awesome. I love all of you out there. They're great because you can connect with other people and hear their stories and bond, and it's that community and all of that makes it great.
It's awesome, man. Share that verse you said that God's been kind of keeping that at the front of your mind.
So it's 1 Corinthians 2:9. It says, "No mere man has ever seen, heard, or imagined the wonderful things God has planned for those who love him." And I just wanted to share that because, like, if you're in that life cycle where you feel like, hey, like, I'm ready for a change, I'm ready for something new, like, reach out, find the church, come to church, connect with us, and I promise you don't even know like how your life is going to change. Come talk to me, whatever. I'm here.
Yeah,
we're here.
Well, we are so proud of you, Dylan, and today we get to celebrate with Dylan as he's going to be baptized at the end of service. And I just want to say, man, we are so grateful for you, and you have been such a blessing and encouragement to our church, but also you are a testimony of what Jesus can do. And so we are just so proud of you, man, and we just can't wait to see what God continues to do in your life, man. So let's go ahead and tune in to the rest of the message. We're going to talk about tragedy today. And Dylan, you've gone through so much tragedy, man, and we're just proud of you. So let's tune into that.